Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. We're here every Sunday night from 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern. We do this on our website, thebibleforum.net. We also do it on our Facebook page, and then all the videos are uploaded in whole and in parts in both of those places, as well as our YouTube channel. You need to go check some of these things out. It would keep you busy. Hundreds and hundreds of these videos, and you won't ever sleep. You've been paying attention to the news, at least I hope you have, and the news out of the Middle East is a little bit scary. Lots of things are going on. According to Reuters and according to the Associated Press, the war in Syria, which is continuing, is a war being fought from Syria and by Syrians, but also by other people. We have seen Russia involved over there, and now we see Iran. Folks are getting in on the action. The Prime Minister of Israel had just come back from spending a couple of days in Russia talking to Premier Putin. Got a promise from him that he would not be actively attacking Israel from Syria. And then immediately after that, Iran attacked Syria, and Russia retaliated and obliterated whatever it was they were using. And Russia honored their word. They stayed out. And so that's a good thing. But 20 missiles were fired from bases in Syria, according to Reuters news agency. More than 50 Iranian military targets were then consequently destroyed within a 90-minute period the next morning. This left the Quds Force, the overseas elite Iranian unit, trying to consolidate its presence in Syria. It left them kind of off balance. They were, according to the article, reeling. In this raid, the Israel Defense Force displayed just a sample, according to them, of its advanced intelligence-fueled precision firepower, dealing a crushing blow to Iran's assets in Syria. Much of Iran's military infrastructure in Syria was destroyed in this wave of strikes. First time Iran has engaged Israel this way. They characterized it as the most severe attempt yet by Iran to attack Israel. 4 rockets were intercepted by Israel. The others fell short of their targets. And the missile launcher that fired the rockets, Israel destroyed that, and some other stuff. They were responding with their own attack against any of the equipment that they knew were involved in this. That, according to Israel's official explanation. Russia was informed ahead of Israel's attack by the Prime Minister, who had just returned from those meetings. Israel warned it will not accept a permanent Iranian military presence in Syria. President Trump's announcement on Tuesday to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal has also caused tensions to rise. One outlet said that Israel does not intend to escalate the situation, but noted troops will remain on very high alert. Should there be another Iranian attack, they said, we will be prepared for it. Russian officials on Friday indicated they will not supply the Syrian government with the advanced S-300 surface-to-air missile systems that heretofore they had promised. Israel's Minister of National Infrastructure, Energy, and Water Resources recently said, quote, if Assad, that's the head guy in Syria, if Assad continues to let Iranians operate from Syrian soil, he should know that he is signing his own death warrant and that it will be his end. we will topple his regime. The Jewish News Service reported that a week ago, Monday night, the Knesset plenum passed the first reading of the proposed nationality law, which seeks to canonize Israel as the nation state of the Jewish people. 64 Knesset members voted in favor of the law, 50 parliamentarians opposed. And if this measure becomes law, it would enshrine the state's Jewish symbols and designate Jerusalem as its capital city. The law would also designate Hebrew as the country's official language, with Arabic maintaining a special status to be utilized for the provision of state services to Arabic speakers. It also sets the Hebrew lunar calendar as the country's official calendar and makes Independence Day and other Jewish holidays, events, and memorial days into national law. Meaning what? Meaning we're moving ever closer to the biblical scenario. Last Sunday, as we were here talking about other things, it was election day in Lebanon. Lebanon, as you know, is a nation just north of Israel. It's on the coast. Syria is north as well. They're side-by-side neighbors. Lebanon is a little smaller, a lot smaller. The people who won have effectively moved the Lebanese government closer to Russia and Iran, as the Prime Minister's pro-Western Future movement lost 1/3 of its parliamentary seats. It's being characterized as a win for Hezbollah and for Iran. The headline read, "Victory against Israel." Iran is working through Syria to destabilize the region. It now has a hook in Lebanon. And the question becomes, can Israel be far behind? What has become known as the golden age for Jewish-Christian relations apparently is now upon us. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, or the Fellowship as it's called, is breaking ground on its brand new Jerusalem headquarters, a multi-million-dollar building that will provide a home in the Holy Land for visiting Christians. They're calling it the Global Fellowship House. It's intended to be inspirational to both the Christian visitors and beneficial for the people of Israel. That according to prophecynewswatch.com. On his Facebook page, a man is seen pledging his allegiance not to ISIS, but to something called the Incel Rebellion, I-N-C-E-L. Had no idea what that Incel stands for, so I looked it up. It stands for involuntarily celibate. Website by the name of vox.com explained it by saying the rebellion is not an organized militant group, but rather an ideal developed by an online community of men united by their inability to convince women to have intimate relations with them. There have been at least 32 deaths that can be linked, at least in some way, to young men's frustration over their inability to convince women to have intimate relations with them. New York Times columnist Ross Douthat did just that. He wrote, quote, "The culture's dominant message about sex is still essentially Hefnerian." Hugh Hefner? Yeah. A message that frequency and variety is as close to what they call perfection as the human condition has to offer. In this worldview, he says, virginity and celibacy are at best strange and at worst, pitiable states. The group's thinking includes the reality that the beautiful, the rich, the socially adept would enjoy the lion's share of the promised frequency and variety, while others would be relegated to new forms of loneliness and frustration. This reality put the lethal violence in Toronto and Santa Barbara, California, led George Mason University economist Robin Hanson to muse that, quote, one might plausibly argue that those with much less access to sex suffer to a similar degree as those with low income, and might similarly hope to gain from organizing around this identity, to lobby, and I'm not making this up, to lobby for redistribution of the benefits of the sexual revolution. That, my friends, is insanity. What on earth would redistribution entail? It's no more insane than telling young men that sex is everything, exposing them to countless hours of pornography, and then being shocked when young men feel cheated. But that's the kind of lunacy and insanity that is driving our culture. As we say, ideas have consequences, and bad ideas have victims. The victims of the sexual revolution are really adding up. This was originally an article published by Breakpoint.org. When we come back, I want to talk to you about Beth Moore and misogyny among Christian men. Stay tuned.